So welcome, everybody. The Boxwood Alliance is a nonprofit organization that looks to help seniors and their families find resources available in the lower Hudson Valley. Anybody that is on this webinar as a participant is not going to have video, so you cannot see yourself on video. That is, nothing's wrong with your computer, and you are all muted. That's the nature of the webinar format. If you need to connect to us in any way, you either have to raise your hand or type a question in the Q&A box, which is what we recommend, or type a question in the chat box. But the Q&A box is the best way for you to actually ask questions. And my goal would be, if there are any questions, that we wait till the end and I'll read them off to Marci, who is our guest speaker today, and then she can answer them. So I just want to let everybody know this is a monthly webinar. We do it every month. We try to do different topics each month, and our goal is to give you guys education. Anything that's on this webinar is going to be posted. It usually takes about a week for us to do that, but get posted onto our website, which is theboxwood.org, if you want to see it later. So with that, I'm going to introduce Marci Lobel-Esrig. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yes, you are.
Marci? Yes. Okay, good. Marci is the founder and CEO and General Counsel of SilverBills.com, which she launched in 2014. SilverBills receives, scrutinizes, and stores clients' household bills and ensures bills are being paid correctly and on time. SilverBills greatly reduces clients' need for help writing checks and managing household bills, which can be a portal to fraud and theft. SilverBills provides services through the United States and often partners with families, attorneys, social workers, and financial planners. By providing technology-enabled household bill management, SilverBills has improved the lives of countless individuals who would otherwise not have been able to age in place safely and securely. In January of 2019, SilverBills began a partnership with the New York City Department for Aging, whereby qualifying New York City residents receive free household bill management services from SilverBills, which is an awesome thing. This partnership has benefited many vulnerable New York City residents by ensuring that their vital services, such as electricity, are not interrupted because their bills are paid correctly and on time by SilverBills. SilverBills is also listed by AARP as a trusted COVID resource. I have a website here, but I'm not going to read that off. SilverBills' partnership with New York City Department of Aging is a winner of the National Association of Area Agencies on Aging 2020 Aging Innovation Award. SilverBills is a venture capital backed and is participating in the Hearts Lab program. So that's a mouthful. That's a lot of good stuff. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and let Marci take it from here and let you share your screen and do what you need to do. And I'm going to mute myself. Thanks, Marci.
Thanks, Colin. I really appreciate it. And thanks to the Boxwood. Just to clarify one thing, it's the Hearst Lab. That's the VC-backed innovation lab that we're participating with now. So by way of background, I've been an attorney for a few decades. Most recently at the New York Mets baseball team parent company, Sterling Equities. And when I was at Sterling, a few weeks after I started, the Bernie Madoff scandal broke. And my company lost almost $500 million and almost the entire 401k of the company. So I became an expert in financial exploitation. I worked on that matter for about 8 years. And I had a very unique window into the whole area of financial exploitation. At the same time, my elderly aunt was aging in her home and she was struggling with this whole issue of bill management. She told me she had to drive to the car dealer to drop off her check. And when her daughters visited, they lived on the other coast of the country. And when they visited, they often spent their whole time together going through piles of paper. So I did a lot of research into the overlap of those two issues, and I learned that there was no national scalable solution to this problem of household bill management, and that many times individuals reached out to untrustworthy service providers and they were financially exploited, and that the problem of elder financial exploitation in this country is approximately $1 billion a year. A year, $1 billion of elder financial exploitation, and that it's sometimes perpetrated because the individuals need help managing their household bills. And these untrustworthy individuals help with that. And they perpetrate financial crimes against older adults. For example, there's no way to police for theft of personal effects in the home, like jewelry or other valuable items, and there's no real-time data in check writing. So in my own community in Lower Westchester, one of the moms in my daughter's Girl Scout troop was in jail for several years because she billed herself as an individual who could help with household expenses. And she wrote checks to herself for tens of thousands of dollars. And that wasn't discovered until a few years later by the adult daughter who was looking through statements. So there's a lag between when a check can be written and when that crime is discovered. And I realized and thought a lot about this because I saw that the whole relationship for Bernie Madoff and his victims was predicated on trust, and that there were limitations when you predicated a business or a service on trust because it could lead to crimes like financial exploitation. And so I left Sterling to work on SilverBills full time, and I'm going to share the screen now. We are revolutionizing household bills using proprietary software plus personal support. The market is really tremendous, and since many of you are interested or work in the aging space, you understand the great need there is in this market because of the numbers of individuals that are older adults and the numbers that are growing in the next decades. So it's going from approximately 56 million, 65 and older currently, to about 80 million. And I just want to say before I launch into this full presentation that I will open it up for questions when I'm finished with the presentation, because I think, an interactive approach is more interesting for everyone, including myself. The large majority, as probably many of you know, want to stay in their homes, but often need additional services to do that safely and securely. So that's why at SilverBills, we're committed to our social mission of helping clients age with dignity by managing bills securely. And the challenge, as many of you probably understand, is certain of the issues that are associated with aging lead to difficulty in managing bills, such as manual dexterity, writing becomes a difficulty, increasing health problems, visual acuity like macular degeneration, increasing stays in hospitals or rehab facilities, making this piling up of paper very challenging, and the difficulty to attend to these issues when not in the home, or simply memory issues, which I didn't mention, or simply wanting to outsource this process to a trusted professional. Similarly to the way individuals outsource, for example, tax preparation to accountants or CPAs, they may want to outsource this job to a professional, as they outsource all kinds of tasks in addition to tax preparation. And so we have become a trusted service provider and professional service whereby individuals can outsource. The consequences, and we've had clients who face all of these issues prior to enrolling with our services, including termination of electricity, eviction or foreclosure, having to pay late fees, depletion of savings because of financial exploitation or other issues, and guardianship. And guardianship, that's a topic for a whole separate webinar, but that is a very significant deprivation of liberties and is often not necessary to solve this problem, but is often a solution that has to be implemented. We are a razor sharp solution to a problem rather than this very, very broad deprivation of liberties that guardianship often entails. So SilverBills is the first in market to provide this solution. We're trusted by families and professionals since 2014 throughout the country. We use proprietary software to receive, scrutinize, store, and pay our clients' bills, and they no longer need to manage this process. However, they don't need a computer to benefit directly from our services, and we charge an economical flat monthly fee paid either by the client or a third-party stakeholder. The process is very simple. I'm not going to have the time to get into the real details here. Anyone can reach out to us at silverbills.com if they want to hear the details of the process. But basically, we need a signed service agreement and a sample of each bill. And then we have an account manager who's available to clients on the phone. And that's really our differentiating feature. Each client is assigned an account manager. So we have a very robust proprietary software solution that we have ownership rights in, the IP to, but the clients themselves do not need to use computers to benefit. And that addresses the needs of the almost 17 million older adults that don't have internet access, don't use computers, as well as the tens of millions of additional individuals in this age bracket that don't use computers for more complicated tasks other than, Netflix or potentially FaceTime with family members and friends. Once they're enrolled in our services, most of that paperwork and documentation comes to our interface directly, and account managers are managing it. And they can send us additional bills or any other documents at any time in the future. They can interface with us wherever they are on the technology standpoint. So we provide our clients, and there's a photo of them with business reply envelopes. They don't have to write an address. They don't have to go to a post office to add postage. They simply put anything in the mail to us that they want us to handle, and we can handle all of that. Or they can have their doctor's office, in many cases, faxes us information. They can text us, or they can email us. And our system provides a monthly statement which shows the budgeted spend versus actual spend for each category, as well as a list of all charges and the date and manner in which they were paid. So they can receive that in the mail if they want, in the form of one document, rather than having to manage these multiple documents coming into the mail. Or they can log in, or if they don't have computers, as long as we have written authorization, we provide login credentials to third parties. So for example, with our partners, the New York City Department for the Aging, their staff can log into the accounts of the individuals we service through that program and see everything in real time that's being handled. Or attorneys or adult children or financial planners can also log in. The differentiating factor is our account managers. We provide every client with a US-based account manager. They're really grateful for this opportunity. It's not a call center where they're calling an 800 number and they don't know the other person on the other side of the phone. The account managers are charged with really taking care of the clients, and they can reach them, as I mentioned, by phone, email, text, or fax. And the account manager's work is powered by our cutting edge solution, our technology Ruby on Rails application. But again, the clients don't need to use that at all. And we use leading edge fraud technology to scan all transactions for any kind of fraud. And we also have theft and professional liability insurance that's guaranteeing all of our transactions. This is just to give a visual. Please do not look at all of these items now or try to digest it. There's a lot of details that have to be attended to that go into aging in place securely. And we not only track all of this, make sure it's done correctly, but we also provide our clients with a bill inventory such that we are making sure they've thought through all of this. Some of them know in the back of their minds they have a life insurance policy, but our conversation and enrollment session with them sparks that reminder to see whether that's current, when the premiums are due, etc., and then to transition to us taking care of it. So it's beyond just the payment. It provides the peace of mind that someone is thinking about all of these things holistically and managing it all. We have a full-time management team that has decades of experience in legal, financial, accounting, startup, technology, and sales, including our newest addition to our team who worked at A Place for Mom for 6 years. We have a full-time, highly skilled director of engineering, as well as people under these full-time management team taking care of all of the other aspects of business, including a full host of account managers, team of account managers. So the competitive landscape, there are some great apps, including SilverBills, that can do this. But again, that's not really providing the services that this cohort and their family needs. Older adults and their children, we found, don't want another app, either as big brother to spy on what they're doing or to take care of this where the parents can't directly, the older adult parents, interface. On the other end of the spectrum are the friends and family or other in-person service providers. From a few perspectives, it's not a great solution, in my opinion, including the fraud aspect and potential theft that I mentioned, both from in-home providing the services. There's no way to police for that, whether there's theft in the home. And when it can be done virtually, it's a better solution. In addition, during COVID, so AARP, which is the largest not-for-profit in the United States, we were partnered with them through the Mass Challenge FinTech program last year, and they also invested in our company in the form of a safe. We also worked closely with their innovation lab to do some really valuable research last year, and they've listed us as a resource during COVID on their Community Connections COVID resource website, because during COVID, it's really not necessary and certainly, in my opinion, ill-advised to provide services in the home where you can have a service provided virtually and not risk infection during this pandemic. And unfortunately, we have to think about future potential pandemics. So we really check all of the boxes in the competitive landscape space. We focus on older adults with a dedicated account manager who can be reached on the phone. We have an online portal, so any third parties or older adults who themselves want to access all of this information in one place can do so. And we pay a lot of attention to security. In fact, we were selected in 2020 as one of the 15 startups to participate in IBM's HyperProtect Accelerator program. And that's very exciting because IBM is providing to us $10,000 in IBM cloud storage credits to transfer all of our data to their hyper-protected cloud storage system, which is considered the Fort Knox of data storage and is the only financial institution-ready data storage system available right now, as well as we have 2 years of IBM technical expertise devoted to our company. We compensate for errors, which is why we have 2 really robust insurance policies, both theft and professional liability. And we provide full onboarding support. So unlike an app where you have to enroll in all of those online portals and then put in all of that credentials into that app, we provide that support in a very age-friendly way to our clients. Plus, as I mentioned, COVID safe. And some of our just really exciting partnerships, including Sanford Health, which is one of the largest not-for-profits in the United States. And as we mentioned, the partnership with the New York City Department for the Aging. So we have a signed deal with them, a contract with them, whereby we provide these services for free to qualified New York City residents. And proud to say that in 2020, we won the National Association of Area Agencies on Aging Innovation Award for this partnership. So we're hoping to propel that model throughout the country because the DFTA model was based on a legacy AARP model that was established in the 1970s, whereby volunteers were providing these services. So DFTA really was looking for an alternative to that because it was often difficult to have a level playing field in terms of geography throughout New York City and try to recruit volunteers to go to all areas of New York City. Because we provide our services virtually, we're geographically agnostic and can do this anywhere throughout the country, but specifically they were addressing the 5 boroughs, and we're able to do that. Just to give some examples of some client situations, obviously these details have been anonymized, but how this might come into play for you or your clients as examples. And these are, gleaned from actual clients that we have, and then we can open up for questions. John Smith, he's retired and a widower in good health. He's enrolled in a pooled income trust. So Colin, you can speak to obviously the power of pooled income trusts, but for some individuals, they're very difficult and complicated to manage, right? Yeah, so I mean, Colin, definitely, we can talk more about this example. I have 2 more and then open it up to a conversation. Submitting all the expenses, making sure they're paid, and each pooled income trust obviously has their own rules and portals, etc. It was difficult for him to be able to manage this trust, but the benefits are just tremendous, right? Of the home care you could potentially access. This individual also has a private geriatric care manager. So SilverBills is one of the team players in caring for this older adult. And that's really how I believe the best approach is in forming a team. So have all the experts do what they do best. What we do best is manage the expenses and the bills. We assist with the trust. We are paid directly by the trust. In this case, there are no adult children. And this individual has been able to access all the benefits of a trust, as well as access benefits of using a geriatric care manager to assist with the care while we're handling that process. That might have been really difficult and onerous for him to do himself. Another example, Susan Brown, a young retired widow, enjoys leisure time. She especially likes golfing. She never handled finances prior to her husband's passing and is in excellent health with 2 adult daughters living really across the country. She simply wanted to outsource this to a trusted professional, the process of managing her bills. She doesn't want to be bothered with it. She could, I guess, learn about all the minutia and what policies are due. She has long-term care insurance. She has life insurance. She has benefits from a retirement plan through her prior work life and experience, but she just didn't want to deal with it. And so she hired us to manage her household bills. So that's just an example of another one of our clients and how she benefits. The third example, Jack Forrest, he's divorced and retired. He was planning for this issue of a planned scheduled surgery that was going to take place. And he was worried about what was going to happen when he was in rehab for close to 6 weeks. So his thinking was he was going to outsource this to SilverBills for that period of time. And then when he was finished, he could, just terminate our services and take over that. His children live close by, but they're busy professionals. He didn't want to burden his children with this. Even for the short time he was going to be in rehab. So what resulted from this is that he was so relieved to have professionals involved in this and not to have to worry about the details and the minutia that he's been a client now since that time, which has been several years, and he does not plan to terminate the services and really loves particularly his account manager. So those are just some examples of some real life situations where we're working with individuals who want to outsource their bill management, and would love to answer your questions now if you have any.
It's a wonderful service. And I mean, I can totally relate to the lady that her husband paid all the bills. She's perfectly fine, but just doesn't want to deal with it, because I would be signing up for that as well. And there's a lot of people that are like that.
Yeah, I mean,
that
this
would love
is
to have
really,
somebody that's
it's really about outsourcing. People outsource for all different things, like you could take something as mundane as painting your dining room, right? I mean, we could all do that ourselves probably, or many of us could, but we outsource that. So this is really about the value of individual time.
Yes, absolutely. I agree 100%. And I think it's wonderful. I think it's really great for those pooled trust people as well, because that's such a stress. I can't tell you how many people complain, even though it's not really any harder than paying bills. It's just a different mechanism. And that throws people through a loop, and they need a new way to, they need somebody to guide them through. And once you don't have to do it, why would you want to take that back up? So I get that completely. So I have one question thus far. Go ahead.
I just want to mention, I actually think it discourages some people from enrolling in the trust because of that
I agree.
step that they have to take to submit bills.
100%. I agree completely with you. I hear a lot of complaints. I don't want to do this because it's too hard, when the benefit is so tremendous for them to do it, that it doesn't make sense to me. But it's fear. People are often driven by their anxieties to not do things that they should do. So I do have one question so far, which is, where do your referrals come from? What type of agencies or professionals, etc.?
So often social workers, attorneys, accountants. So accountants are often asked to do this, and they don't have really a cost-efficient way to do it. They typically charge by the hour, so they're increasingly calling us. Financial planners, and then city agencies, etc. And then oftentimes it is the adult children. So they're looking online from wherever they are in the country.
Okay, that's great. Thank you so much. So I'm just gonna give everybody a minute to add any more questions because sometimes people are just silent, but maybe that means you did a very good job at explaining what you do, which would be great. So, and I think you did do a really good job, and I think the PowerPoint was very clear. And I think the idea of making it sort of paper-based is what is so appealing to the older population who, I can't tell you how many people tell me, well, I don't do online banking because I don't trust it. And they're not even older, but they're afraid to do it. But this is a way to sort of get around that. I got another question. What are the costs? That's a very good question.
Sure.
What does it cost to do?
It depends on the referral partner. So with New York City, it's actually free for qualified New York City residents in the 5 boroughs who meet certain income restrictions. The retail rate is $99 per month. And we have a lot of referral partners. We just signed a new deal, for example, with care.com. For their premium package, they offer discounts. So their referrals get discounts as well as some of the other large home care agencies and organizations throughout the country.
So is the $99 like just a flat rate for the
It's a
month
flat
with
fee
bills or
per,
separate?
it's a flat fee per household.
That's amazing.
Thank
It's
you.
very affordable.
Right. I mean, when you compare to some of the like per hour alternatives, which is really, I mean, we're a concierge service, so we're not an app. That's not really a comparable level of service. When you compare it to some of the other hourly service providers, I think it's a really, really big bargain, to be honest.
I agree completely. I mean,
Mhm.
I can't even begin to tell you how affordable that is based on what I've heard out there. I think that's a great rate, and I think it's a great service.
Thank you.
So,
Plus, with the trust, we can get paid with the funds from a trust. So one of
right,
the
which
other things we do with the trust is, we try to maximize our clients' use of the funds. And it's something we really are on top of, reminding them to do that because, as you know, when you pass away, you lose those funds. It doesn't go to your estate or anything. So we're one of the
right,
ways to provide a service that benefits the ultimate beneficiary, plus use some of the funds.
absolutely. No, that is absolutely a great question. A great system. I have another question. Are there any plans to align with the Department of Senior Programs and Services in Westchester or the Yonkers Department of Aging? I'm guessing this is a Westchester person.
So we actually, we have had a lot of conversations with Westchester, and then we got derailed by the pandemic, unfortunately. So we will have to re-examine that. We are working with the city of Yonkers on a potential grant proposal. So we have to see what's going to happen with that. So theoretically, that could be possible. But I mean, we would love if anyone knows anyone, in the Yonkers Department of Social Services who could help facilitate that would be fantastic. As I mentioned, we got derailed by COVID, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for sure, but I'm glad to hear that because I think there are a lot of people who, I run into these people all the time who are not paying their bills, who don't either have family members or their family members are out of state and they're not really keeping up on it. And this eliminates that problem. I mean, it's a simple thing for them to do. Does Adult Protective Services ever call on you?
Occasionally, yes.
Do they know about you or is it just something that's underutilized?
They do know about us. I think it's a complicated issue with APS, quite frankly. They do know about us. We've gotten referrals from them, yes.
Good. Okay. Because I think, again, I think they get referrals for people who are having these exact problems, who could probably still maintain themselves in the community if their bills were paid properly. So I think
Well, it's what I mentioned, guardianship is a very significant deprivation of liberties. And, obviously it's appropriate in certain circumstances. I totally am on board with that and understand that. But in other circumstances, when you can keep someone living independently and the only impediment is because they're just not keeping on track with their rent and their electric, like let's try to do that in a much gentler way than implement guardianship.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's a big deal because people who have capacity to make decisions about their life might not have capacity to pay their bills properly, but it doesn't mean they lack capacity to make all decisions. And that guardianship sort of swoops all of the decision making away from them versus just the one thing they're struggling with, which could be an educational issue. It could be a cultural issue. It could be a lot of reasons behind why they're not doing the bill paying like they should that have nothing to do with being able to make life decisions. So
It could be that they
I
lost
think
a
that's
spouse.
great.
I mean, that's often the case where they had nothing to do with any of this and they're grieving and stressed. And then on top of it, they're faced with these, kind of Herculean tasks to overcome in that state of, really state of grief.
Yeah, and they're also at risk for being taken advantage of. If
Right.
they've never paid bills and they don't know what is what, anybody could just send something to them and they're just going to start writing checks. They don't know who they're writing to or what the purpose is. They're just, just responding to what comes in versus sending things to you. And you can say, we know this is not right. We're not paying this bill.
I mean, not only that, but we have really high-tech solutions for scanning all transactions, read-only transaction data for fraudulent, charges and fraudulent check writing. So beyond just what we're doing with the check writing, we're like another boot and suspenders for belts and suspenders for preventing some of this. I mean, the other way we prevent it is people use us as a resource when they get these kind of phony calls. We had someone in Westchester County who called us because she said, I have a message on my answering machine from Con Edison saying that they're going to terminate my electricity because I didn't pay unless I wire the money to them. And we immediately looked on our interface and said, you're completely paid, and reached out to our contacts at the Attorney General's office, who told us it was a very significant scam going on now. And we were able to prevent that from happening. I mean, that's just one example, but there are many more when individuals who are our clients can reach out to us before sending the money, wiring the funds, falling for those scams.
Absolutely.
And they're often they don't want to, we had a client who called and we said, would you like your adult child to be involved with this? And she said, good luck getting him on the phone. These adult children are the sandwich generation. They're busy with their careers, managing their own families' lives, and also trying to help their parents to the best of their abilities, but they're also very, very stretched. So when you have a professional service provider who's part of that care team, who that older adult can reach out to, they don't feel like they're burdening someone by making that phone call. They feel like they're paying SilverBills to provide this service. It's not the unpaid work of their children that they have to worry about calling them and bothering them. And that's another way we can serve as a resource and prevent some of that financial exploitation.
I think that's an important point, is that people do not like to ask favors of people. So if they know they're paying somebody to do this, then they're not afraid to pick up the phone or to do something. But if they had to ask a friend or a niece or a family member, they might feel like, oh, I'm imposing upon them. So having somebody that's paid to do the service can often be a better avenue for people. I got one more question, which I think you kind of addressed, but I'm going to read it out anyway. Are you seeing more women asking for help due to dependence on husbands to pay the bills? I guess meaning the husband's no longer available, which is kind of, that's why I said I think you kind of addressed that, but.
I mean, we do have a
again?
significant percentage of our clients are widows. So they are the surviving spouse and they have not, previously handled this. So I think, yeah, but we're doing it in a way that I really believe that is empowering for women. I mean, we're a female founded company. We're backed by a VC that's committed to helping female founders grow big companies and support other women. And, that's the other part of this. We are not making financial decisions for anyone. We're empowering them to become more financially literate about their own resources and what they owe to various providers, and deferring to them to make those decisions. So we're facilitating that process.
Great. Well, I think that's all the questions. So I want to thank you so much because I think this was fabulous. You've reminded me about how valuable you are. So if nothing else, you've got me thinking about you and who I can refer you to, because I do think it's really valuable. And I do have a lot of clients, especially with the pooled trusts, that really struggle and don't want to do it, just don't want to deal with it, want to pass it off. And I think that that's a good solution. And also you have so many families now where the family members really aren't local. And somehow, even with the internet, the family members are like, well, how can I pay their bills if I'm not there? And I'm thinking, well, you don't have to be there, but this isn't a great alternative to that. I think it's more they don't want to, and that's the excuse. So it allows them to have an out. So thank you so much for joining us today. And hopefully we will get this posted online. We'll keep you posted when it does get up there. And we thank you for taking the time to be with us today.
Thank you, Colin. Really appreciate it, and really appreciate everyone who attended and listened. And thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much and have a great evening.